Hello, and welcome to another episode of What the hell did I do when I don't upload for a few weeks or few months. And to start off with that, we need to say goodbye to an old friend, my Nikon D800. I'll give you a little bit of context later.
Tell me what to
do. Welcome to another episode of
Show me how to feel.
So today we're going to be talking about
Under your control.
Hello,
Everything
and welcome
is
to
real.
another episode of What the hell did I do?
So hit me.
So I've had this camera for quite a while now. I think it's been with me for like 5 years, and I've really spent a lot of adventures with this camera. And it's sad that I need to let it go, but we need to be practical sometimes, and sometimes we don't need every camera that we have in our dry cabinet, or if you do have one. So I actually stumbled on a posting on Facebook Marketplace, like I always do. I always just go to Trade Me or Facebook. Just to give you a little bit of context why I actually do that is that I actually do buy and sell stuff. So usually it's just photography gear, it's a tripod, it's a camera, it's anything related that I could actually use for a bit that I actually wanted to experience, and then see if I could actually get it for like a very cheap price in the marketplace, and try it for a couple of months or just 1 month, and then see if I actually need it. And if I don't, I actually just go sell it off back again into the market. And to be honest, most of it I actually just spend, not spend, but I just sell it off again because it's not really necessary, and I kind of gain a little bit of profit from it because they sell it very cheap and I can sell it in a standard price. And yeah, that's how buy and sell goes, obviously. And yeah, so I actually went into Facebook Marketplace, and I was very intrigued by mirrorless cameras ever since I was back in Singapore, so like that's 3 years ago. And I've had like a couple of days experience with one, and it was just, you know, just doing a little bit of extra, so I didn't really have the full experience having a mirrorless system. So now with a little bit of budget, and I actually saw a listing for an A7R2, and I was very intrigued with the Super 35mm that they were talking about, and that's for 4K, and yeah, I ended up buying it. And so that's the start of why I'm actually ditching this beast of a camera. But before that, I actually just went on Google, just searched for, you know, all the good mirrorless systems. So there's Fuji, there's the new Canons, but it's so damn expensive. Canon, come on, make it much more. I know you have the M50, but it's not full frame. So moving on. So I actually got the A7R2 for quite a bargain, and it came with a Rokinon 85mm 1.4, which I'm actually using quite a bit right now. I'm testing it out. It actually works well with Sony's focus speaking, and believe me, Sony focus speaking makes your life so easier. And apart from that one, I feel like the first time I actually got hold of like the Sony, I was like, damn, the grip is just so small. It's not as, you know, as comfortable as this. It's not is the best grip that I could actually have, but it's very light. And I'm actually using much more video now, and then so I figured I do have a gimbal, and it's struggling with this beast of a camera which does only 1080p 24 fps with me. So I've had this Sony A7R2 for quite a while now. I think it's been for a month, and I feel like I haven't been using the Nikon D800 for quite some time now. I've been bringing them along, honestly, together when just in the camera bag, and then eventually when I reach the destination, I just pick up the Sony like right away, and I feel much more comfortable with it day by day. Even though I don't really have other native lenses that come with it, I actually bought like an adapter for my Nikon lenses. Most of them are manual, so I didn't really give much more importance to autofocus for, you know, those expensive adapters. And apparently they haven't really made one that's good for Nikon, but I think for Canon they do have like the Sigma adapters, which are so good. It actually does, you know, native autofocus, if that's what they're called, but it's as good as autofocusing with a Canon body. So yeah, as a summary, I'm just ditching the D800 with a reason of, you know, just being practical. Something that you don't really use that often now, you just need to, you know, let it go and earn profit from it, and see if, you know, along the way you really need something, and then you can always go buy it. And this is something that I've actually learned because I've had quite a few gear way before as I was trying to do a business, but unfortunately it didn't push through, and I feel like having too much gear actually makes me much more confused sometimes, you know, what to use, because sometimes you want to use it but it's not good enough, and then you figure it out, oh, why not just have one camera body and then, you know, just use all the lenses that you need. And especially with lenses, because at one point in my life I've had like, I don't know, like 8 lenses, 10 lenses, but then I don't really use them all. Most of them like specialty lenses, so it's not the most ideal one, but definitely it's time to declutter, and it's time to, you know, earn profit for things that you're not using. And I feel like this Sony A7R II is much more comfortable to use when it comes to using with my gimbal, because my gimbal is struggling with the D800. And by the way, the gimbal is a Beholder EC1, so it's pretty old, but does the job for me. It doesn't really do all the tricks of all the new ones that's come around, but yeah, I mean, it's still good. It still works for me. I don't need those extra functions for all those new gimbals, and I feel like I'm getting more comfortable with the Sony one. And on that note, we shall go ahead and know the pros and cons of the Sony A7R II, which I'm filming right now, and this beast of a D800. It's old, but it's gold. Alright, first things first, the D800 has a top screen, which is very, 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 I can't express it enough. It's very, very helpful. And secondly, the grip. Actually, the grip is, I feel like it's the best thing about this camera, about Nikon in particular, because I feel like for all the Nikon bodies that I actually had, the grip is just so good. I've held Canons as well, I've held Fuji's are, I don't know why. I don't know, I just don't feel Fuji's. But I don't know with the new ones right now, I've just dealt with the old ones, and yeah, well, this comes with a battery grip, which is quite cheap. It's not Nikon, but it's a third-party grip, which is very, very, very cheap compared to even the third-party grips for A7R II. They are so bloody expensive, and you know, the Sony battery grips are just, I don't know, $500 for just one, and damn, it's too much for a battery grip, man. Cons about this one, it's the video capability, 1080p, 24 and 30p, and there is also the screen. Can't flip it out a little bit, or just for different perspectives. That's one downside. But actually I forgot one good thing about this one. The best thing. The grip a second. Okay. And so the best thing about this one is the weather sealing. It's built like a tank. I've been with this for like 42 degrees Celsius out in Bangkok, and just running around 42 degrees. Come on, man. And it didn't like really overheat. It's just so good. And also I've used this one in Mount Ropeo, which is like Manasi mountain, and it was -2 degrees in there, and then I was just using this one all around. And yeah, I even just had this one dropped in the snow. No, I did not drop this in the snow. I need to sell this first. And yeah, I had this clean for after every trip, so it's always good to go. Any weather, any condition, any climate, you name it. This is a tank. It has a built-in flash. So back to the cons. First things first is the video capability. Second thing is the screen. Third is actually the weight. But I feel like it's not really, because to be honest, I love the weight of this one. It feels like a solid camera, like really. So when I first picked up the A7R2, it was just like, holy shit, this is like point and shoot. I don't know, it's just too small, and the grip was, I don't know, tiny. My pinky was just out. It's like it's dangling, so it was too small. So it was an adjustment, but getting comfortable with it. Yeah, I couldn't really say anything much about the cons of the 800. It has 36 megapixels. Come on, it's more than enough. Alright, so now we need to check out the A7R2 as well. So the A7R2 has 42 megapixels, which is very, very good for editing. So you could actually pull up details, even if they're actually blown out, or it's too dark, you can still light them up. Apart from that one, the video capabilities, it does have 4K, which is, yeah, just 4K, come on. 4K is nothing. 4K is not a big jump really from 1080p. And so yeah, 1080p 60, which is good. And it's really, really good for B-roll. I do have a gimbal. I just need to move slowly a little bit just to achieve that 120 frames per second kind of feel. Another thing is that it's very light, which I mentioned earlier, which is very, very good with my Beholder gimbal. It can easily, it wouldn't struggle compared to the D800, especially when I flip it on a low angle. And yeah, it's just so good. I mean, it doesn't really have any cons right now, apart from one, which is when you're trying to shoot RAW plus JPEG. I seem to have, problems when you're trying to view the photo just after you shoot it. So it actually processes the image quite slow because of the very, very high megapixel count. I think that's the only thing that I could actually tell right now, because I never had it overheat. They've always said it overheats. That's one thing that you need to look out for Sony cameras, but then I've never experienced it. It feels pretty solid. It's not something like a D800 would actually give you, like the weight, which is actually good for glide cams, but not for gimbals, since glide cams are much more better and much more stable with heavier equipment rather than those flimsy gimbals. But gimbals are the way to go. You just need to charge them, and then they do the balancing for you. There's also Super 35mm, which is the crop mode of this A7R2, which is very intriguing because people are actually telling the internet that Super 35mm with 4K is actually way much more better than 4K on full frame. So I haven't really tested a lot in that, but I think I'll just create another video for it once I test it out. And I actually got 2 more lenses. It's just for crop sensor lenses, and I want to try it with a Super 35mm and it does have autofocus as well. They're really tiny though. Let me show you. Ta-da! See, I told you it's so tiny. Both are Sigma, by the way. And it's the 19 2.8 and what was this one? 32.8. So both are 2.8 lenses. Yeah, so far so good. I'm gonna do a video about using crop sensor lenses on a full frame body, and you know, just for you to take a look and then see if it actually fits you. And damn, this chair is creaking. Also, for Sony a7R II, the cons would be battery life. Fortunately, the guy actually gave us free batteries, so it's all good. And it has, you know, all the chargers with it. So definitely, it's a good deal for me. You know, trying out the Sony body and enjoying it. I think it's something fresh that makes you much more motivated. I don't know if it works for you, but I'll be using this camera to finish my microfilm, which I actually started with a D800. Hopefully I could actually match the grading and everything. It has S-Log, by the way, which I am very excited to use, but also very anxious to use as well, because it does have the minimum of ISO 800. So I don't know, mixed feelings about it, but we'll see how it goes. And I think that's it for the pros and cons right now. Let me know if I missed something, and because I haven't really experienced it for quite a long time, it needs a little bit of tinkering here and there to know all the settings. But at the end of the day, just keep shooting. I mean, regardless of the gear, regardless of what you're using, you can even use your phone just to film something. I don't know, just keep it rolling. Just keep it rolling and create content. Not every once in a while, but try to make it consistent. Not like me, who is not that consistent. I do post a little bit of stuff on Facebook, so you just get Instagram, I don't know. And yeah, it's time to let go of this beast. It has served me well throughout the years. Hopefully it will serve its new owner for quite a long time. And that's it for me today, and hope you enjoyed the video, and look forward to the next videos that I will be making about the Sony a7R II. More lenses inside, focus peaking, super 35mm, yeah, whatever else. Alright, that's it. Bye. And yeah, by the way, I've been recording for like 30 minutes now, and it still hasn't overheated, so I think that's a good sign. And they've always said it's gonna overheat. I don't know. Makes me anxious, but now that I've tested it, it's still good and works for me. Alright, see you then.